It's really the same thing as any industry. Like any industry has competition. Kind of laugh about it all the time. Like you compare this to wholesaling, which we've done before. I can't even imagine.
I've never seen a business like it before, and I've been in 12 different businesses.
Right now, we're closing on a property. We're getting her $450,000 cash. Even if she knows there's more value out there, getting the cash fast is what really sells it to a lot of them.
Land is so far from that point, and it is getting more competitive, but you also have 8 times the amount of supply as parcels with structures on it. Inventory is bigger, and the competition's so much smaller. We're just getting into the phase where even competition's involved. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today's topic we're talking about is land investing too saturated, and we're in the middle of 2024 right now, but obviously this goes on further than this, probably into 2025. But as always, guys, I'm your host, Daniel Apke, joined again by my brother and business partner, Ron Apke. And we're just on a call with our business mentor, and we're talking through, our number one objections with land investing and land investing online and our program and offering and everything. And it was easy for me. Is it too competitive? What makes my business different? And it's a very simple answer that I could probably answer in 3-4 sentences and get this episode over with. But we're going to talk about the background and more things in it. Ron, welcome back.
Yeah, happy to be here. Our brand new podcast studio. Hopefully you guys are enjoying watching this. But yeah, it is from consultations. We talk to people in consultations. We talk to just people first getting started. Like it is in their head. Mm-hmm. And I want to attack it head on because it's really the same thing as any industry. Like any industry has competition. And we talk about it and kind of laugh about it all the time. Like people talking about like this being competitive. You compare this to wholesaling, which we've done before.
Well, what about the old industry you used to be in? Logistics.
I was in, logistics.
How many people were you competing with on every single?
I can't even imagine. Like it was so what I did was essentially line up truck drivers for loads is what they call them. And 30 people, and they'd get cold called all day long. Like it's just, you got to be able to close deals. And that's what this thing is just as much as any other sales job. Like you got to be able to talk to people, close deals, make things happen. But when you're comparing to other things, the potential for land versus like the resistance, it's just such a good opportunity. You often talk about like opportunities and how much opportunity is in certain things. Do you still agree the same thing? Like this is a level 10 opportunity.
Yeah, and level 1 opportunity being something like, I don't want to say logistics because that's a high level opportunity because there's such a low amount of barrier to entry for the way you were doing it. So that would be a mid tier, opportunity. I think low opportunities would be, I think, like house flipping, where it's a ton of work and a ton of capital, and a lot of room for risk and things like that.
A lot of skill.
Yeah, a lot of skill. Yes. So that's more and you can still make money on any of these businesses. They are proven business models. All of these are that we're talking about, and you can go into any one of these and probably make $1 million. There's ones that are easier than others to get started, and when it comes down to that, it's how hard is it, how profitable is it, how much competition. All of those things come down to it, Ron. And I think land investing from a simplicity standpoint, along with the high profit potential, this is simple. We're flipping vacant raw land. We're not doing anything. We do subdivides and things like that. That adds a little more work, but it's still fairly simple of a business model. We're reaching out to landowners, giving them an offer, buying a property and closing the property and then reselling it right away. And just flipping it. And that's where the margin is. And there's so many different strategies you go into, but from a simplicity standpoint with the profit margins, it's absolutely a level 10. I've never seen a business like it before. And I've been in 12 different businesses. And I'm biased towards it, obviously, because I'm in the industry. But there were so many businesses that led me to get to this industry. So it's not like I only see it. Yeah. And our brother Mike said the same thing. So our brother Mike, who owns droners.io with us and has been in the land flipping space a long time, he hasn't really sent out any mail in this year. I mean, he has a little bit in the first quarter, and he's already, I think he made mid 100s in profit from, and he's like, that's why I love this business model. You can turn it on and off and still be highly profitable.
That's a good point. And yeah, it's just a lot of times when we're talking to people, and I think I talked about in the last episode I did, like you have to be careful, like explaining the business model to people because I don't want to say scammy it sounds, but like just the opportunity is so big. Like the ability to buy something for $50,000 and sell it for $100,000 over and over and over again. Just like that's how we explain it to people. Like this is what we do at scale. We buy land for 50% of market value and sell it at 100% of market value. And it sounds crazy, but just the level of opportunity in it, it's a combination of things. Why the sellers are motivated, our mass marketing strategy. There's a lot of things that come together that make it such a good opportunity, and you need to be doing things the right way. It's not like anyone can just come in and do whatever they want.
No.
What are your thoughts though, as far as like with a high level business or a high opportunity business? There's not a ton of barrier to entry in land. Like, is it always going to be level 10 opportunity, or is it going to be the niches that are the level 10 opportunity? Like, what are your thoughts on like the direction as a whole? Because there isn't much barrier to entry. While there's so much opportunity right now, there isn't a ton of barrier to entry.
No, there's not. Anyone can reach out to anyone. And there's, you can do it through text or cold calling. So when you talk about mail, the barrier to enter is kind of expensive. It's not nothing. But it does take the right resources to do it. Whether you're buying the loan with your own money, you have a hard money partner, you have someone to fund it, like traditional funding, traditional deal funding that we do with a profit split on the end. So I think funding the deals can get a little trickier, but then you have double closing and wholesaling. So is it always going to be a level 10? Things are going to change. We might not buy a property for 40, sell it for 100 over and over again in the future. But you got to realize the motivation of these sellers and the value we provide. And that's what I want to touch on, because that comes down to why it's a level 10. These people, the number one thing that comes to my mind, these landowners don't live on their land. They live in a house. When they need money, something happens, they're foreclosing on their property, and they need $50,000. And what are they going to do? They don't have stocks. They have a car. Are they going to leave their house, or are they going to sell the assets they have? They don't live in their land. A lot of them times they're paying taxes on it. They've been there very few times. A lot of the times they're out of state, whatever it is. It's an asset that they can liquidate quick, and that's what we offer. We go to those people in distress. They're not always in distress either. That's a misconception. We go in these people who need that $40,000, $50,000. They've been paying taxes. They're sick of paying taxes. They're highly motivated to get rid of their land, and we offer them a quick way out. People say, why don't they just list it on the market? They can do that, and a lot will. But if they need that money now, they can't wait 6 months. They don't need to pay that 10% realtor fee. A lot of realtors don't even know how to list land in rural America. We're talking rural. This isn't Atlanta, Georgia. We're talking 3 counties removed.
Yep.
Like, it's hard to get people out there to even look at your land. You know what I mean? Especially if it's $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. So it's a liquidation process, and that's what we offer.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize is the motivation of the sellers and why they're selling. People always ask, why are they selling? Because we're offering them cash within 2 weeks. We're not trying to, like, sometimes we double close, but we're not trying to just get them under contract, make a couple $100 selling the contract or anything like that. That's not our business model. Our business model, and we can talk about it from a seller's perspective. We have never received a bad review from a seller ever. We take surveys from sellers. We do all this different thing with our sellers to make sure that the value is there. I've never had a seller call me back a month after we sold their property and be like, hey, you just bought this for me for $40,000, sold it for $80,000. We've never once had that phone call ever. And then I think that's a testament to the service we're giving them and the value that we have. We're giving, right now we're closing on a property with a lady who's going through a tough time. We're getting her $450,000 cash, like, for a piece of land that she inherited. So like the ability for them to get high volume of cash in a short amount of period of time, which land can take 2-3 years to sell
At that price.
100%.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't want to do that. She's not interested in that. Even if she knows there's more value out there, getting the cash fast is what really sells it to a lot of them.
Correct. And so you brought up double closing there, and I want to talk about that, because if you're highly motivated to get rid of your land and you're calling me, and I have one offer, and that's 45, let's say it's 5 for 50, sell for 100, right? And I'm talking to you, and you want more money, and you're like, oh, I can go list this on the market for 80 to 90,000. Let's say you say, we think we can get 100 for it. Okay, so we can get 100. She thinks she can list it for 80. I can go into the reasons. I say, yeah, but you can't really get your money that quick, right? You're gonna have to get a realtor. 10% comes. You got closing fees. I pay for all those, and you start having the conversation. And depending on where that goes, the number one goal we have is to buy that property at the offer price. The number 2 goal is to negotiate to where it still makes sense to where we can buy it, right? Maybe we can offer $58,000 and it still makes sense for our financial situation. Third is a double close. And this is where you can add a ton of value for the right people who want to sell. Maybe she bought it for $58 10 years ago, Ron. That happens. And she won't take $1 less than what she bought it for, but she wants to get rid of it. Highly motivated seller, doesn't need the liquid or the cash as fast, so it's a little less liquid, you can start offering the double close. She wants 68,000, let's say. Okay, I can still sell this for 100. There's a ton of margin there, $32,000. And that's where you can start to go to those double close and provide immense amounts of value. It's not for everyone. Don't skip those steps. But you're talking about someone who is going to put it on the market for 80 to 90, and now I can offer, 70, 75. I said 68 for this example, but whatever.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It just, and I can probably get her, I'm going to list it better than her realtor. I'm going to get her money. It just, as long as you have a very motivated seller, you can make things happen.
I think that's a good point, just how double closing works, how you give these sellers options on whether you want the fast cash now or you want us to find an end buyer and we can get you an extra $15,000. And the crazy thing is, like, a lot of people think they're put in that position, they're going to want the more money in 90 days, whatever it is. A lot of times they're taking that $50,000
because they have options to weigh now. For sure.
50,000 now versus 65, 70 in 90 days. So many of these people are like, okay, let's do 50,000 now. That sounds good. And that's just the mindset of it. But let's talk a little bit about the future of this business. This is a saturation topic that we're talking about. Obviously, there's so much opportunity right now. But 12 months ago, we weren't teaching double closing. 12 months ago, we weren't really teaching texting. We definitely weren't teaching cold calling, which we're talking a ton about now. Niches, we did niches sporadically, I think. Subdividing, what do we call it? House hacking? Not house hacking.
Land hacking.
Land hacking, all these different things.
What do we call that? Subdivide hacking.
Subdivide hacking, we'll call it. But all these different things weren't a part of our business model. I think that's part of it, is adjusting. But what are your thoughts on kind of the next 12 months, if you can kind of try to predict?
Subdividing it is a niche, but subdividing is a business. And I think a lot of people can go that route and only focus on subdividing, because now the way subdividing works, and I always say it's like buying, hot dogs at a baseball game versus at Costco. You can pay 150% for the land sometimes if it's exactly what you want. So subdividing is a business model, and there's a ton of opportunity, major and minor subdivisions opportunities. But as more competition comes in, first thing to know is, have you guys looked at the wholesaling, like Ron said, industry or the housing industry and seen how competitive that is and how many people do it and how many people want to get in it? And HGTV, how it just blew everything up with that. Land is so far from that point, and it is getting more competitive, but you also have 8 times the amount of supply as parcels with structures on it. So it's just the inventory is bigger and the competition's so much smaller. We're just getting into the phase where even competition's involved. And it makes you pivot. We got to text, we got to call, we got to hit these people with multiple touch points. One mail and done doesn't work well anymore, or doesn't work as well, I should say. Yeah. And you got to hit these people from different directions, and it's going to continue to change. You're going to pivot. You're going to have to start figuring out ways to offer $70,000 for a $100,000 property, and getting hard money is going to get we're starting to see people getting hard money and things like that, and traditional deal funding going away because the margins are too small in certain situations. So things change. Money gets cheaper. As the competition in the space gets higher, the cost for money gets cheaper, so it allows you to do tighter deals. Our best people sometimes have 10% annualized loans, like John, for instance, and he's doing such a high volume, and he can buy for 65 and sell for 85 because he has such cheap, good loans on his. So I think money needs to get cheaper over time for those deals. Not on every deal. You're still going to get the buy for 40, 50, sell for 100 all the time, over and over. I'm talking about in the way future. Say it gets very competitive. Got to contact these people 5 to 10 times. You got to have follow-up texts going to them. You got to get them on the phone. You got to build a reputation. You got to get them on Zoom face-to-face. Go out there and meet them. So many different ways to differentiate yourself. And just going back to wholesaling and house flipping, Ron, I know tons and tons of people. My friend Matt, he's getting tons of wholesale opportunities every month. How do you think he's getting them? Same thing. He's cold calling. He's texting. He's going and knocking on these people's doors. All of them work together, and you get deals. They don't go away. It's just going to get more competitive.
Yeah, I think it's just like, and you touched so much there, is really good. I think it's just continuing to learn. Like, if you started this business 24 months ago and like you're just doing the same thing forever, like, yeah, it will work. But for one thing, getting cheaper money is a huge thing. John, for example, is one who he does the mail thing. That's all he does. Like we've talked to him about doing other things, but he is stuck on the mail.
He's good on sales too.
100%. He's good on the phone.
And he has good realtors.
And he has good funding though. Like that's what's John's separator is in this business is he can go up to that 70,000, sell for 100 and buy it. Not a double close.
He doesn't even blink twice.
Yeah, exactly. So finding like what's your separator in the next 12, 24 months is so important, whether it's follow-up cold calling, follow-up texting, all these different things. It's just continuing to learn and adjust your business as needed. Mail still works unbelievably well, but how do you take your business to next level? Like you need to find that separator.
It's not, this business is no different than any other business, and people try to put it in its own category. The touch points is the biggest thing I want to talk about because we have so many different, we're used to just sending one mail. And I want to reiterate that before we wrap it up is just like, think of multiple touch points and getting a hold of people in different ways. And, if you can set up Zoom calls with these people and look at it like a close and like try to close them on spot, and kind of like we do, like you set up that initial call, you gauge their interest, and then you get them on a Zoom call and just think of ways to better yourself and connect more with these people.
You're trying to make 50 grand on a deal. Like you're not trying to like,
this is a high ticket.
You're not trying to sell $100 like pair of shoes. Like you're trying to make up $50,000, 6 figures on a single deal.
You're going to need to touch people multiple times.
100% you need to touch them multiple times. But anything else, Dan?
No, I think we're good to go.
If you guys are watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button below. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, share this with a friend. Share it on an Instagram story. It helps so much. Other than that, thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining, guys. As always, thank you for joining. Please do us a huge favor and like and subscribe our YouTube channel and share this with a friend. It really means the world to Ron and I, but more importantly, it could help change the life of someone else. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next episode.